During this 2-hour and 45-minute hearing, Cameron Smith is in Memphis preparing for the FedEx St. Jude Championship. The Telegraph has confirmed, reported, whatever you want to say, that he has already signed a $100 million deal to join LIV. So literally, Kyle, this couldn't have worked out any better. They take the 15-minute recess in the hearing, and we get Cam Smith's presser, which lasted about 3.5 minutes because he was asked about his ties to LIV, which I actually believe, Jacob, if we let's run it. I think we have this.
Yeah. My goal here is to win the FedEx Cup playoffs. That's all I'm here for. If there's something I need to say regarding the PGA Tour or LIV, it will come from Cameron Smith, not Cameron Percy. I'm a man of my word, and whenever you guys need to know anything, it'll be said by me.
And just following up on that, you being a man of your word, the Telegraph is reporting that you've signed and are going. Would you like to say yes or no to that?
I have no comment to that. Like I said, I'm here to play the FedEx Cup playoffs. That's been my focus the last week and a half. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to win the FedEx Cup playoffs. And like I said, it'll come from me. It won't come from Cameron Percy.
Do you intend to play the President's Cup?
Absolutely, yeah. That's something that we've been looking forward to for the last 3 years. We missed a year because of COVID, and that's something that I look forward to being a part of.
No comment, Kyle.
Yeah. I mean, it's not great. Like, if I'm reading between the lines and, the Telegraph's report, Telegraph's had at least a couple of these nailed down.
You can always be wrong on this. The Telegraph's been pretty good. And it's very hard to report on this stuff. As we've talked about a lot, the Telegraph has a pretty good record. Not that they couldn't be wrong, but they've had a pretty good record.
I would now be surprised. I mean, so at the Open Championship, what was that? Like a month ago now?
Feels like
it does. Remember when Rory was going to win the Open? It was Cam and Hideki were the two names that you kept on hearing. Now, the caveat there is you hear, when you're out there for a week and you experience this at the US Open, Rick, you hear every name. It's like,
every single name.
It's like, not everybody's going, but you do hear some names more than others from all these people that you talk to. And it's a little bit of a game of telephone, but there was a lot of smoke around Cam and around Hideki, probably even more so around Hideki, honestly. I think I would be surprised now if Cam didn't leave, right? I would be actually surprised if Cam Smith was playing on the PGA Tour at the start of 2023. That doesn't mean he won't. That doesn't mean that this report is absolutely correct, but that's sort of where I'm at with this. And I think the thing that I think of, Rick, is not just so this would be a coup for LIV. Obviously, he's the number 2 player in the world, but also because you get the Open champion, you get the Players champion, and you might get the PGA Tour Player of the Year, which doesn't mean a lot broadly in the sports world. But for the LIV to be like, okay, we have the most recent major champion, we have your tour's best tournaments champion, and we have your Player of the Year. Oh yeah, and they're all the same guy. That sucks for the PGA Tour, right? And so I think for a lot of reasons, Cam is a perfect candidate because he's not, this is the PGA Tour is the tour he plays on. I don't know that he's super connected to it. He didn't grow up here. And I think globally people are not as connected to the PGA Tour as some fans might think that they are. And he's also checks so many boxes that LIV wants to hold over the PGA Tour's head. And now they might be able to if he ends up going.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the marketing that usually goes into your Players champion, the marketing that goes into your FedEx Cup champ. I mean, literally 40 times a day on the broadcast, Sia, they run the ad for the FedEx Cup, and it always shows the most recent winner hoisting the FedEx Cup. It might be Patrick Cantlay for a whole nother year, or maybe they're going to have to resource some other ads because you could potentially get or seemingly you're going to get Cam Smith. I agree. It's a big get. We do a lot of reading between the lines. If you add up the Telegraph story generally speaking, a no comment means you're going. Like, we can add up. We've seen some other guys go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going. You don't handle like he did great handling that question. I mean, he knew what he wanted to say, and that's fine. But I don't think you handle that question or the follow-up question. By the way, props to whoever asked him the follow-up question, because
Shane Ryan, wasn't it, Kyle?
Shane Ryan, I think, asked all the questions.
Okay, legitimately, he was only asked questions by Shane Ryan, and there was one other question. The thing lasted 3.5 minutes. Shane handled the whole thing.
Well, props to Shane, because that follow-up question was, it's the only follow-up question you could ask as it pertained to the first question. So, yeah, I don't think you answer a question like that unless you're going. I mean, if you, at this stage of the game, if you don't know that you're going, I'd be really, really surprised. And so he didn't want to say yes because he's in the middle of the FedEx Cup playoffs, and I guess he doesn't want that heat, although he knows he's getting it now. But in his position, I would have answered it the same way if I were going, and that's why I think he's going.
I mean, he's a great candidate, Kyle, for all the reasons that you said, but also from his perspective, if you look at it and say, I get to play for 18 million now, I'm going to sign for probably 100. And also if at any point the majors ban LIV guys, but they do respect the guys who have already had exemptions, or basically like if we get no OWGR points, I can still get into major. Like he's the guy to get to this phrase that we've been saying over and over again, have his cake and eat it too.
Yeah, he is in a perfect it's really, in the same way that DJ was a great kind of lead candidate just because he's DJ, and I mean there's 1,000 reasons, but Cam, it's a little bit, if he goes, it's a perfect marriage from both sides, right? Because Cam's like, well, I'm in all the majors for at least 5 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so I'm good there. I'm going to win however much money in the FedEx Cup. So I'm good there. And oh, by the way, my LIV contract went from 100 million to probably 140 million or whatever, 30, 20. So I'm good there. And yeah, I think the question that I think about, and I mean, bullets were flying this afternoon. We're just trying to get our, minds wrapped around 8 different things at once, is how problematic is Cam Smith leaving? Like how problematic for the PGA Tour is Cam Smith leaving? Obviously the PGA Tour is in, I think, a lot more trouble than it thought it would be in, than we thought it would be in 6 months ago, even 4 months ago, right? And I Cam Smith is problematic because he's the number 2 player in the world, but 2 years ago, Cam Smith is no different than Abraham Ancer, right? Who has now gone to LIV. I almost picked Abraham Ancer in our one and done this week, by the way. I forgot he was playing LIV Golf.
That would have been just chef's kiss.
I had his name written in, and I was like, did he go to LIV? I honestly can't remember at this point. And so I'll pose that to you guys. How problematic is Cam Smith? How problematic for the PGA Tour is Cam Smith leaving for LIV Golf?
It's way worse if he wins the FedEx Cup, for sure. I think it's a big deal. I think it's horrible.
I think it's a big deal, but I think it's only a big deal because we keep looking at things in the present and not the future. We have I've said this a couple of times, we've had such an influx of stars like that. We actually kind of deem stars right now, like Cameron Young, Mito Pereira, has kind of fallen off a little bit. Davis Riley. There's a lot of good young talent that, again, given the right marketing from the PGA Tour and from some of these broadcasts, I think they can supplant these guys, especially the way they're structured. I mean, it's kind of finite with the number of players and the number of teams. I suppose if they were to expand, it would be a different story. But a lot of the guys over there are kind of guys that are past their prime or injury prone or what have you. Don't get me wrong, they have stars. That's great. But there's stars here too. It's just a matter of them coming through the Korn Ferry Tour and all these other tours and being marketed properly.
It does feel a little bit like we're getting to a sort of equilibrium with the tours, to where they're just going to kind of coexist for a period of time. After, I think there'll be some more dust to settle this fall with guys potentially like Cam, maybe Hideki, maybe some others that have been talked about. I don't know where that's going to end, but as you look toward 2023, 2024, I think the thing that what is remarkable to me is like, are we going to have to start covering LIV as a serious product, not as a serious threat to the PGA Tour, but as like its tournaments as a serious product? Because at some point you do have to do that. Like if everybody in the top 48 player, if all the top 48 players in the world play in the LIV event in Boston, you have to cover it as a serious product. Like that's sort of our job. We're not there yet, but Cam is one more mark, like, or one more step toward that. And I don't know, like when we get to that tipping point of having to seriously cover, this Doral event with 54 holes and talk about like, what Patrick Reed was thinking on the 17th hole in the third round on a Sunday. I don't know. Like, have you thought about that, Rick?
Yeah, I have. And I think there's, it's really difficult because we're just going to have to decide when it's serious enough, right? Like nothing's going to happen, right? It's not going to be like one golfer goes and now we have to take it more seriously. It's just, we're going to wake up one morning and be like, all right, like half the best players in the world are there. Like this is an event that's happening and there's people that are in, like, if people are interested in it, right? Like, I don't think there's going to be a moment, but we'll know.
Well, I think what's really interesting is, so we, like the three of us primarily cover the PGA Tour, right? And the major championships. And we'll dabble in like LPGA majors and some European Tour stuff if the events are compelling, some Corn Ferry stuff when it comes time to relegation and all those different things. What is been established in 2022, and I think is solidified by the Cam Smith, again, if he goes, is LIV Golf is now the second best golf tour in the world, right? There's if they get Cam and let's say one other guy, there's not really an argument against that. Like they are clearly the second best golf tour in the world and gaining a little bit on the best on the PGA Tour. And so I don't know what to do with that. And I don't mean that in like an existential way. I just like logistically, like traditionally we have not talked about or covered the second best tour that often, but I don't know. Like it's a really like bizarre thing.